Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And Verizon is making huge improvements. So, this is part two. This is the longer video that I wanted to make. And what I have pulled up on screen that you're currently seeing are the Q3 results from Ookla. This is as of Q3 of 2023. And then we'll compare with the results released today, Q4 of 2023. So Verizon is making huge strides in the speed department, and I have been told so. I've been trying to tell you guys, so I'm glad that report is now out. So Verizon has been able to accomplish this with far less mid-band scale. That has to be taken into consideration. A lot of people are now saying in the comments, well, speed doesn't matter for me. So just because T-Mobile may not win the speed category in the future, now all of a sudden it doesn't matter anymore. So I even said this. You guys have heard me say it, and I'll say it again. Losing the speed crown is not going to derail T-Mobile's success. They will continue to grow. They will continue to grow in the fixed wireless access, and they will continue to grow in their underpenetrated addressable markets, small market, rural areas, enterprise. T-Mobile will continue to grow. But the facts are the facts. If we're talking pure network, from a pure networking perspective, Verizon is going to eventually push their way through. They're going to eventually be the fastest, likely the most consistent, likely the most reliable on 5G when it's all said and done. That's what they're working towards. They are specifically investing every single capital dollar into beating T-Mobile. It's not about them. It's about them beating T-Mobile. I have been told so. They won't disclose that publicly, but that's what they want to do from a competitive standpoint. And before we compare, if you really think about it, it makes sense, right? If Verizon is constantly telling the public in the street that they are the premium carrier, that they can charge premium pricing, that they should be judged on service revenue, free cash flow, and people are paying step-ups to the higher unlimited plans, how can that be when T-Mobile continues to claim the best 5G, the fastest 5G, the largest 5G, right? People are going to eventually catch on. They're going to say, wait a minute, why am I paying all this money premium for Verizon when T-Mobile is claiming that they're the best? So Verizon understands that. So now they're spending every single capital dollar to chase T-Mobile and to be the best and the fastest 5G network in the United States. So what you're seeing on screen is the first report that we'll check out. So this is as of Q3 2023. T-Mobile at 221.57 megabits a second, still the fastest. Verizon at 153.79, and then AT&T at 101.55 megabits per second. So as you can see in this report, clearly T-Mobile is still the fastest by, decent margin. So now let's switch over to Q4 of 2023. As you can see, T-Mobile went up by 17 megabits per second. They went from 221 to 238.87. Verizon went up by 42 megabits per second, and they went up to 196.43. And then AT&T, they came in last, but they also had a wider margin of improvement versus T-Mobile. T-Mobile went up by 17. AT&T went up by 24 megabits per second. So if this continues at the same pace, at the end of Q1, Verizon will be even closer to a T-Mobile. And then at the end of Q2, when Ookla releases that report, Verizon should be the fastest carrier in the United States. Now, I do see some people still saying, well, auction 108. I understand that. That's coming. That will help T-Mobile, but T-Mobile still has restrictions. They still have the backhaul issue. They still don't seem to want to operate at a much higher cost, which that's what it will equal. If they go upgrade a large amount of sites to higher backhaul, they will endure a higher operations costs. And that seems like something that they don't want to do. So they're gradually increasing sites where it matters, but in the rural environment, it tends to get more difficult to do so. So then you have to really spend big money to get microwave backhaul, those 10 gig dishes. You have to really spend money to scale fiber, or to hire a third party, since they're leasing, to get them to scale the fiber to their cell sites. That costs money. And Verizon and AT&T are inclined to pay more for fiber even in those rural parts. Yes, they also do use microwave backhaul, but T-Mobile, trying to save costs, they would use way more microwave backhaul in those parts than Verizon and AT&T. So that could also play a factor. And then we also have to keep in mind, and I don't think many are understanding this, Verizon still lacks serious mid-band scale, and they're already right there. They are not far behind. T-Mobile is literally at 300 million pops covered with its 2.5 spectrum. That means publicly, Verizon, there are 70 million pops in the rural environment today that are not covered by Verizon's midband. Those sites are probably congested beyond belief, running on LTE, slow as molasses, and Verizon is almost at 200 megabits a second. They improved 42 megabits versus Q3, and they are still 70 million pops behind scale on midband. Just think about that. You have to really objectively look at it and think about that. And then you got to also think about the 70 million pops. Most of it, if not all of it, is going to have 100 contiguous megahertz per block. It's 2 blocks. It's 100 on the A block and 100 on the B block. A total of 200 megahertz contiguous in all of that environment. There is no fragmentation. There is no waiting for auction 108. And even with auction 108, let's be realistic, T-Mobile is not going to have close to 200 megahertz of N41. They'll be at 180, 190 in some. In some, they'll get to 120, 140. Again, it's still not a contiguous channel across the board. Even though they'll get more, it's not a contiguous channel. Verizon will have a contiguous channel of 200 megahertz no matter where in the rural environment. And that's going to be a huge advantage, especially as they continue to scale 10 gig circuits to those rural parts and any fiber that they can get their hands on. In those parts, it's likely a lot of third-party leasing, which is fine. They own little over 50% of the entire footprint is on their own backhaul. So they can splurge and spend more operations costs in those parts to scale to 2 gig, 3 gig, 4 gig, 5 gig backhaul, whatever is needed to get the network up to par. And I'm telling you right now, even if the site doesn't need it, just to really obliterate and kick T-Mobile's behind, Verizon would just scale it to 2, 3, 4, 5 gig backhaul just because, to really obliterate that speed lead from T-Mobile. Not just by a little bit, but by a lot. I mean, just look at this. Just look at this chart, and I'll bring it up again. T-Mobile has 70 million more pops covered with midband, and look at how close Verizon is on speed. It's unbelievable, and they are getting faster by the day. Verizon is getting faster by the day. And that also keep in mind, in the metro core, there are still sites that don't have C-band. So they're still using intercell aggregation. So that means they're pushing C-band from one site to cover another site with C-band. That's going to get better this year too. They're going to get those remaining sites upgraded, something that T-Mobile has already worked through. 99% of T-Mobile sites now in the Metro Core, maybe even higher, maybe 99.5, are upgraded. And the ones that don't have N41 are not going to get it. At this point, I'm confident to say that it's been so long that if there are sites that have been touched with low band, N71, if that didn't get mid band, the N41, it's a very high possibility that it's just not going to get it. So be open-minded on this. Be objective. Look at everything. Yes, is T-Mobile going to speed up? Very possible. They're still scaling some sites with backhaul. They're still going to get auction 108. So yes, they will get faster. They're still going to have C-band and DoD deployments ongoing through this year and next year. We still don't know how aggressively they're going to deploy that, but that's still going to be added to the sites. But keep in mind, they have to have adequate backhaul to really push that. They have to get more fiber to sites, right? There's still some sites, even in my market, there is a site not too far from where I'm at. It's using microwave backhaul and not fiber. So they gotta scale that. They gotta get that done. And maybe T-Mobile's okay with that. Maybe they knew all along that they would lose the speed lead. Maybe they had an understanding like, hey, wait a minute, Verizon's spectrum position is just too contiguous. They spent a ton of money to get those big channels, and maybe they had that understanding, but T-Mobile also understands that it's not going to derail their success. The stock is not gonna be in the free fall just because Verizon surpassed T-Mobile in speed. So T-Mobile understands that clearly, and they know how to play this. They know how to play their cards right. They know how to strategically attack the market. So I fully expect them to pivot. Once Verizon takes them and clips the speed lead, they will probably focus on more of the value play, the value segment. Very possible, like, hey, we can offer you a great network with great value. You know, at that point, they would no longer be able to use the speed lead anymore. They might still be able to use the largest 5G network, but at that point, it may not matter. So they may differentiate themselves differently in marketing terms. And this would be actually, I'll be honest here, this would be the first time that T-Mobile has been really challenged on speeds. For those of you who remember, with the PCS channel and the AWS channel that T-Mobile had, when they brought that to scale during LTE, they with having, you know, lower amounts of customers versus Verizon and AT&T, T-Mobile was able to maintain that speed lead during LTE for a majority of it. Majority of the LTE cycle or generation, T-Mobile held the speed lead through Ookla and most of OpenSignal. And, you know, now they're being challenged. And Verizon is rightfully challenging T-Mobile because they spent over $50 billion, including early clearing costs. And now they need to show a return on investment and monetize. And they also need to monetize on that fiber investment now that they have that. So all of that is now coming together. It's all coming together. The fiber build has been going on. The one fiber deployment has been ongoing for Verizon since about 2016, 2017. The C-band deployment was accelerated. That's still going to be ongoing for at least the next 2 to 3 years. And now all of this is coming together. The millimeter wave deployment, C-band, more small cells are going to get C-band as well. All of that is coming together. CBRS is helping with this as well. We got to keep that in mind too. So in markets where Verizon has 140 megahertz of C-band or 160, they can get that to 180 or 200 if you include the CBRS. So they're kicking butt, they're taking names, they're going after T-Mobile in a big way, and we're seeing it now in the reportings. They still have not yet clipped T-Mobile, I will acknowledge that, but I fully anticipate now by the end of Q2, Verizon will be the nation's fastest 5G network. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Also, for those of you who stick around, make sure to follow the membership in the description. Make sure you join that, completely optional. But we have fun. We have fun in the members section. So make sure you guys stay tuned. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.